So how many of you know who you are? Are you doing what you really want to do? Are you driven by your own self, or you're being driven by the external forces? Why am I asking these questions? What's the reason behind it? I'm asking these questions because our everyday mental health is directly impacted by how much we know ourselves, how much we do what we genuinely want to do, how we progress and move in everyday behaviors and choices that we make. If you see, in today's time, our mental health is being driven by so many external factors, and there's so much of information overload. The information overload is such that more we know from outside, more we get away from ourselves. We're getting away from knowing ourselves, who we are truly. And a lot of times, because of this, we put a pressure on ourselves to be something that we may not be, because of the societal pressures that we have built or the expectations that we have built in ourselves. I'm not talking about the disorders. I'm talking about everyday mental health. Your everyday emotions, your everyday thoughts, your everyday actions that you take. And if at all we understand our everyday mental health, it can really help us to accomplish what we truly aspire for. We would actually be happy to do what we are doing and make the most out of the life that we have. However, we're not able to do it. Like I said, because of the information overload that we have, because of the confusions that we have, because of the, diversion from the self, the real self, the true self that we have. Now, what do we do in order to make the most out of our mental health? What do we do to be able to bridge this gap? And I've been fortunate enough to experience different individuals' life in my profession, and also personally with my experiences in life. I've witnessed so many humans and their behaviors, and I realized one thing, that when you're not allowed to do what you want to do, when you're not allowed to speak what you want to speak, when you're not allowed to choose what you want to choose, you get disturbed. You form an unknown subconscious pressure on yourself, and that really makes you feel low on motivation. You don't want to do things. And I've seen that people who visit me and talk about their issues, there's one thing common: they're not able to be themselves. So what do we do? How do we really break it? So, like I said, that in my experience with the individuals and also professionally, I saw the people not doing what they truly want to do. And that's when I realized, if you do what you want to do, you can be good. You're amazing, and you can literally be at ease with yourself. So, how do we do that? How do we begin that journey of knowing ourselves and doing things that we want to do? I've simplified it into 3 factors. And the first factor is the language in which we talk to ourselves, the way we have our inner conversations and interactions. How pleasant are they? How accepting are you of yourself there? How compassionate are you when you're talking to yourself? As a studious child, when I was a kid, and as a studious human, I've been really fascinated by grammar. And I don't know how many of you remember the degrees of comparison. You know, good, better, best. Best is the superlative degree, better is the comparative degree, and the good is What is that degree? Every time I ask people, they know superlative, they know comparative, but they don't have the answer for the first degree of comparison. The first degree of comparison is the positive degree of comparison. So the good is positive, better is comparative, best is superlative. Now, just a simple grammar can literally have profound impact on our mental well-being. Especially in this time of technology and social media, where you get information from everywhere, you naturally tend to compare yourself with people. It comes naturally, unconsciously in you, that you would start comparing yourself. So more you compare yourself, more you get uncomfortable with your own reality, with your own qualities, with who you are as an individual. You drift away, right? So the moment I go on to comparing myself with more than one person, what would it do? It would bring a lot of insecurities. It might create inferiority, or it might create superiority as well. And it will build some, jealousy. You envy the moment you compare with another person. You go on to comparing yourself with more than one person. You go into the superlative, where you want to be the perfect, you want to be the best. What do you build in? You build in unrealistic expectations. You build in perfection that you struggle with. And you have unrealistic expectations that you can't meet. And that disturbs your mental health. So the superlative in itself creates an unrealistic reality for me to sustain. However, the moment I go on to being good, which is the positive degree, what am I doing? I'm creating an environment of gratitude and inspiration. Why? Because I'm grateful for what I have. I don't have a benchmark to compare myself with, other people, and I'm not getting confused. I'm not creating lack of clarity. I am looking at my own qualities and infusing gratitude. Simultaneously, I'm getting inspired and building myself further to do what I want to do, how I'll progress tomorrow, and how I'll make the most out of my own abilities. So that's the first step, degrees of comparison. If you use your language in the first degree, which is the positive degree, where you compare yourself with your own self and not with the others around you, you're able to build a more sustained self concept. You become more clear in who you truly are as an individual. The second thing that really builds you and makes you who you truly are is the value system. Now, I noticed that we see others and we immediately think that, okay, if he is behaving like this, so why can't I behave like this? If he said mean thing to me, then the best defense is that I also give something back in return in the meanest possible way. That's the behavior that we usually imbibe without thinking, what is my own value system? Now, when I talk about values, values are the driving forces. They're so important to our mental well being that it can literally make you or break you. So, are we really close to our value system? Are we taking our actions basis what truly we believe in? Or are we drawn by other people's behavior and we are replicating them and we are just mindlessly, behaving? So that's the second point. How are you working on your value system? If you can invest time in knowing your values, knowing your principles, your philosophy, your morals, your ideologies, you can have that clarity to attain the goals that you truly aspire for. And the third one is the self-sabotaging behavior. Usually you would see that we are not able to be ourselves because we have that inner voice that would sabotage ourselves, that would tell us that you're not good enough, you can't do this, The other one is better than you. So more critical you are of yourself, more you drift again away from yourself. When you're not able to focus on the strengths that you have, instead you're focusing on the negativities and the shortcomings that you have, you're not able to really appreciate the individuality that you have. And imagine that we are so many in number and each one has his own uniqueness. But if you're not focusing on your own uniqueness and constantly cribbing about and whining about the things that you lack, how do you think your mental health would be? Do you think you will be able to perform? Do you think you will be able to reach the goals that you have? So these are the three things that can literally help you to be who you truly are. You can do what you want to do. You can uh, be the person that you aspire to be once you categorize and, bring clarity onto these three principles. If we don't, then we bring in a lot of chaos and confusion to ourselves, and that really impact our well-being. And in today's time, mental health is something that really takes us the long way. So my question to you is, are you doing enough to fine tune your self concepts? Are you doing enough to construct different elements to bring in your self concepts? Are you clear on your self concepts? If you're not, then this is the time where you work upon it and then bring the truer version of yourself. Take some time to sit and identify. I don't know how many of you reflect and introspect, because true clarity comes when you are reflecting and introspecting. You do you comes when you sit with yourself and explore your own individual self, and not when you explore what the world is offering you. Yes, of course, we should, keep in check with the reality. However, you can only align with the external world when your inner core values are strengthened, when your inner clarity is not weak. So, are you doing enough to bring in your self concept? So, that's something that we think about in order to achieve what we want to achieve mentally, emotionally, professionally, personally. Thank you.